this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to do a flat herringbone stitch. Basic flat herringbone, but we're going to add a little bit of an embellishment to the ends of it with these little Czech bellflower beads, just to give it a little oomph. Of course, you do not have to add the flowers. You can just do the basic herringbone, which looks like this, and the clasping without the flowers. But I like to just, I always have to add a little something extra with these projects so that you can have a completed actual project by the time you're done learning your basic stitch. So I added a little embellishment and clasped it and showed you how to finish, just so that you have a nice little bracelet when you're done. And like I said, you don't have to add the flowers. But I think that turned out really cute. Let's see. Close up. That's what that looks like on the wrist. Let me take it off so you can see the entire bracelet. And that is what the bracelet looks like. So you can see the patterning of it. I just did a couple of colors and kind of a checkerboard pattern with the herringbone so that it gives it a little bit more flair, a little bit more style and personality. And that's what we're going to make today. Let's look and see what we need for this project. Okay, for this project today, we are going to be using 2 colors of 8/0 seed beads. These are Toho. This is an antique frosted silver, and this one is rose gold. And then we will be using, and you'll need quite a few of both, so make sure you have a nice big tube for both of those. And then we will be using some 7mm Czech bellflowers. I am going to use gold and silver colored bellflowers for mine. You can use any color you want. Of course, you don't have to have 2 colors of seed beads either. If you don't want to make the little pattern I'm making, you can make it all one color. That's fine. And then I'm going to be using, and you'll need 8 of the flowers. I have several out because I don't know what combination I want to do my colors in, so I just made several of both colors. And then you will need some 11/0 seed beads, and I'm using rose gold Tohos for my 11/0. You will not need a lot of them, just a nice little pile. And then I'm going to be using a small clasp. Because of the way I'm going to embellish the ends of this basic stitch, I'm going to use a small clasp. Of course, if you do not want to embellish your flat herringbone with the little flowers like I'm going to, then you can use a bigger clasp. This is about a 1/2 inch from here to here, so it's a small clasp. And it's just a silver tone clasp, toggle clasp. Then I'm going to be using some 8-pound Nanofil today. You can use 6 or 8-pound Fireline, 8 or 10-pound Nanofil should be fine. You're going to need several yards for this. To start, you'll probably want to put on at least a wingspan, maybe 2. That's up to you. And a wingspan, of course, is when you spread your arms out from side to side and stretch the thread from fingertip to fingertip and across your chest. I'm going to start with a shorter amount to show you so you don't have to watch me pulling the thread through. You will also want to leave a long tail when you start your project, or if you do not want to leave a long tail, leave a long enough one to extend your Fireline or your Nanofil. And if you do not know how to extend your thread, which you will need to do in this project, check out video number 4 on this channel, and it will show you how to extend or tie on thread for your project. Let's go ahead and get started. To start flat herringbone stitch, we are going to do a ladder stitch first, and we're going to do it with 2 beads at a time. So to start this, I'm going to pick up 4 of my rose colored beads and my 8/0s. Bring this in so you can see, and I'm going to bring them down to the end of my thread. Now, if you are going to extend your Fireline, you don't have to leave much. If you are going to put your clasping on with your tail, you need to leave at least 16 inches. That way you can put your flowers and your clasping on without a problem. Now, we've got all 4 of these 8/0 seed beads at the end of the thread. come up through the first two that you put on to your thread, and then pull them around. These will lay on top of each other like so. Because this is our first stitch, we are going to secure this by sewing through it a couple of times. So I'm coming out of these two beads right here. I am going to go into these two here. And then I'm going to pull my thread down. Then, now I'm coming out of this side of these two beads. I'm going to go back into the two I started in, and then I'm going to pull my working thread and my tail and tighten it. And now I'm going to go back into the second set. So I'm coming out of my first set of 8 I'm going to go into my second set. And I'm going to pull this tight. And this is what you should have. Just like this. Now we are going to switch colors because we're going to do two sets. So we'll have 2 beads in rows, 2 beads in rows, 2 beads in the silver, 2 beads in the silver. I'll show you. So 2 sets of each. So I'm going to pick up silver now, and I'm coming out of the bottom of this set of 2 8 I'm going to go into the top of it, and I'm going to pull these 2 8 down, like so. Now I'm going to sew back up through this set here, pull it tightly, make sure it's nice and neat, and it hugs up next to the other beads like so. Then pick up 2 more of your second color. Mine is the antique silver, and then I'm going to go up into the second set. So it's coming out of the top, I go into the opposite side and pull my beads down. Now my thread is coming out of the first set that I'm attaching to. I'm going to go back down into the second set and pull tight. Make sure your beads are lying nicely next to each other like this. Now pick up 2 rose gold because we're going to do 2 sets of 8 seed beads in our next color. So I am using rose gold. I'm coming out of the bottom of this set of beads. Let me turn this back around. Sorry guys. There. I'm coming out of the bottom of these 2 beads here. I'm going to go into the top of them, like so. I'm going to hold my beads between my fingers and pull these down tightly. Now I'm coming out of the first set that I'm attaching to. I'm going to go into the second set that I am attaching, like so, and come through it. And now I am going to pick up 1 more set of my first color of 8 seed beads, so my rose. And I'm coming out of the top, I'm going to go into the bottom of the beads and pull these down. Now I'm going to go back into this set, and since this is my last set, I'm going to secure it. So I'm going to go down, then I'm going to go back up into this set. And now we have to get a little tricky because we're coming out here. To start our herringbone, we need to be coming out of this bead here so that we can move across our piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back down, finish our securing stitch here. Now we're just going to come up through the bottom bead of the ladder stitch. So we're going to go into the second set here. Get you close. Oh, too close. There we go. We're going to go into this second set into just the bottom bead and exit the bottom bead like so. And then we're going to cross over between the beads with our thread and just go into this end bead here. So this thread will pull down in between the beads and you won't see it. So just give it a little tug and it'll fall down between the beads, and now you're set and you can start the herringbone stitch. Herringbone stitch is basically just picking up 2 beads going into the next bead in your set. Now when we start in our ladder stitch, we'll go through both beads in the sets. But as we move up, then we'll just go through the top beads and attach them together as we move across, and I will show you what I mean about that. Now, I want to change my pattern of beads, so every time I'm coming through, I'm going to do 2 sets of the opposite color. So I have 2 sets of gold here, or rose gold. I'm going to do 2 sets of gray, and then here I'll do 2 sets of rose, and here I'll do 2 sets of gray. So now I'm going to pick up 2 gray 8/0s like this, and I'm going to go down into the second set of ladder stitch like so, and I'm going to pull these beads down, and now they lay in kind of a funny little V shape on top of my set of ladder stitch. And then I'm going to go up into, so I'm coming out of this set here of these rose gold beads, I'm going to go into the gray set, the very next set. I'm going to pull my thread through, tighten it, and now I want to do rose gold on top of the gray, just to get my cute little pattern I have. So I'm going to pick up 2 of the rose gold, and I'm coming out of this set, I'm going to go down into this set, and pull. And there again, they lay in that nice little V shape. Now we're coming out of this set, we're going to go up into this set, right here. Give it a nice little tug so everything's secure. And then, now that we're in the rose gold set, we're going to pick up 2 gray, like so. Or antique silver, whatever you want to call them, they look gray to me. Now, I'm coming out of this set of my ladder stitch. I'm going to go into the last set, like so. And I'm going to pull these down. Now, I need to get back up and I need to get into this bead so that I can build on top of each set of herringbone. However, I am coming out of the bottom and I'm coming out of this set here. So when I come back up, I would be coming out of this bead here if I just went straight through. I need to be coming out of this bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into just one of the beads on the bottom, right here. And I'm going to pull through that bead. Then I'm going to cross over and I'm going to go into the far bead and the bead on top of it, like so, and pull my thread through. This way, you do not have thread coming out of the outside of your beads to go into your next set of herringbone, which I've seen done, and I don't think it's pretty. So this is the way we're hiding our thread. So now our thread is in the right place to start the next level of herringbone stitch. We're coming out of this bead right here. We're going to do 2 sets of the gray now, because we're going to do 2 sets of each one. This will give us a checkerboard look. So I have to pick up 2 more of my gray beads. And now instead of going all the way down through all of these beads this time, I'm just going to go through this gray one. So I'm going to go through here and pull my beads down into their cute little V shape, like so. Then I'm going to pop up into this bead right here. So just the top layer of herringbone that we've started. We're not going through the ladder stitch anymore. Pull your thread through, like so. Now pick up 2 of your second color, because we want 2 sets of each color. So I'm going to pick up my rose, and this time I'm coming out of this bead, I'm going to go into the bead right next to it, but just the top bead, like so, and pull. Oops, missed my needle. There we go. And now I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to pop up into my next bead, like so, and just pull. Make sure everything's nice and tight. There's no slack in your thread. Pick up 2 of your second color and go into the last bead right here and pull. Now we are coming out over here. We need to get back up to this bead here, but we have to hide our thread in order to do that. So instead of going straight up through, which we couldn't, anyway. That wouldn't work. Our thread would just undo our last stitch. We're going to cross over. So we're coming out of this bead. We're going to cross over to the bead right next to it, and just the bottom bead, and pull our thread through. And then, now that we're coming out of this bead, and give it a good little tug so it goes down between the beads too. You want to watch that your thread actually sinks down between your beads. Then we're coming out of this bead here. We're going to go into this bead here. So we're going to cross our thread over our beads again, come up through here. As we come up, give it a nice little tug. Doesn't have to be a real hard one, just gently, so that that thread sinks down between the beads. And this is what you have. Now we're going to do our next 2 sets of herringbone in the opposite colors from the colors we're in. So we have 2 beads in the gray now, if we count the side here. So now we want to go to the rose gold. So I'm going to pick up 2 rose gold. I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to go just into this bead here. Now we're going to start hooking them together as we do our stitches, so we have to go into this bead too. Now you can do it as 2 strokes or 1. I'm going to start with 2 just so that you can see how it comes together. So I'm going to go just into this bead by itself and pull these 2 down. Then I'm going to go right into this next bead here. We're working just from the top layer of beads now. We're not going into the beads beneath our top layer at all. Now I'm coming out of my rose gold. I'm going to pick up my antique silver. I am going to go over into the bead next to the bead I'm coming out of, and just that bead, and pull. Lay them out, make sure that they're not twisted or anything, and then go up into the next top layer of your level that you're on right here. Pull the thread through. Make sure that there's no slack so that your piece pulls together nice. Pick up 2 of the rose gold color or whatever your first color is, and then go through just the top bead here. Pull it through, give it a nice little tug, and now again we need to get back over to this bead here. So we're going to cross over and cross over. So if you just think of it, when you come to the end, cross over, cross over. So we're going to cross over, go into the bead next to the bead we're coming out of. Pull the thread down, give it a little tug so that it goes down between the beads and you don't see it, and then cross over again and go into the top bead. And now you're in position, pull that thread down, in position to do your next level. And this time I'm going to do it, as I do it, I'm going to pick up the bead in the next set so that I don't have to do 2 movements with my needle, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my rose gold because I want 2 sets of each color. So I am going to go into the next bead, and I'm also going to go into the top bead of the next set in 1 stroke. So I'm going through this one and this one. Now you don't have to do it. You can do it the way I just showed you previously, or you can just go underneath. But as you get some length, you'll want to just pick them up like that. It's a little faster. Then pick up 2 of your gray. I'm going to turn this just so I can get to it better. I'm going to go into the bead next to it and the bead in the next set on the top layer here. And I'm going to pull this down. Give it a nice little tug so that everything draws together. If you don't have good tension, you're going to see a lot of thread between the stitches. Now pick up 2 of our last color here, the same color we're going into, and go into the top bead next to the bead you're coming out of. Pull these beads down, make sure they lay nice, give it a little tug, and then cross over, cross over. So we're here, we're going to cross over. And pull it through. My lamp's too close, I keep bonking it. And pull my thread down. And I had to bring my thread back around because I went through the back of the bead there. And then cross over again into the outer edge bead so that you're in position. Now we're going to do a set of gray. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to pick up my next one here. Then I'm going to pick up 2 of the next color. I'm coming out here, I'm going to go in here and into my next top bead, like so. And pull. Make sure they lay out nice. Sometimes you have to arrange them. Pick up 2, and don't worry, it looks like they're separating and doing weird things. When I very first learned herringbone, that kind of freaked me out. But as you come back through, you connect that, you pull them together. So you pull the previous set together. So your next set or 2 looks like it's spread apart, but it pulls them together as you sew through the top of each one. So don't worry about that. It will pull together, and that's why you need nice tension too as you come through your stitches. So now we've got 2 of our last color. I'm coming through this bead. I'm going to go through the last bead here and pull my thread through. Make sure it's not twisted. Lays out nice. Give it a little tug so it kind of pulls these together. Now I'm going to cross over. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to cross over here. Pull it through. Give it a nice tug. Then I'm going to cross over again. So I'm coming out here, right here. Now I'm going to cross over and go into this one right here. And pull through. Give it a nice little tug. Sometimes you have to put your thumb on top of it and pull it down so you don't pull your beads all out of whack. Now we're ready to do again, and I'm going to do one more for you. And at this point it gets really repetitious. I picked up 2 beads, I go into the bead next to the one I'm coming out of, and the next top layer bead. I pull these beads down. Then I pick up 2 of my rose gold. Go into the bead next to the bead I'm coming out of, and the top bead of the next set. As I do this, I'm pulling them tight, and see how they're drawing together? You really want to watch your thread and make sure your thread is nice and your tension is good in this particular stitch. Pick up 2 of the next color, go into the last bead, and pull. And you're just going to continue doing the same thing with your pattern of colors. After you get 2 sets of each color, then you know that you need to go to the next color after that set is complete. So I've got 2 of the gray, so I know after I cross over, I'm going to cross over, there we go, and then pull this tight. Then I'm going to go into, cross over again, go into this outside bead, and now I have to start my next color because I have 2 sets of my gray. So I'll go with this one, go into the next one, pick up this one, go into the next one, and just continue doing this until you are exactly an inch short of the length you want. So if you want to make a 7-inch bracelet, then go to 6 inches. If you want to make a 6-inch bracelet, go to 5, and so on and so forth. So go ahead and continue until you have 64 rows. And the way I'm counting my rows is each bead on the outside here I'm counting. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way to 64. Now, you don't exactly have to do 64, of course. It depends on the length you want. So I'm going to show you exactly how long mine is. I want to make mine just a little over 7 inches. So mine is just a little over 6 inches. So I made it about 6 and not quite a quarter, about 6 1/4, right around there. And then it'll be a little bit bigger than 7 inches to allow some movement on my wrist. My wrist isn't really, it's about 6 1/2, but I like to have some movement. So I've gone this far. with it. So you can do that. Just make it about an inch short of the length you want. And that also depends on the size of your clasping. I'm using a 1/2 inch clasp. By the time I connect it and everything, it takes up about an inch. Now, my last row, as you can see, has been done and it's separate. It doesn't look all bound together with the ladder stitch like this one does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do another set because I want to end on the same color scheme as I did over here. I need to end it over here the same color. So I'm going to do another set of rows and gray and rose, and then I'm going to bind them together like these are over here so that you can see how to end the end of your bracelet to look the same as this end. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and do my row just like I normally would. Pick up 2 rose gold, and this is going to add a tiny bit of length too, but that's okay with me. If you want to end it a little shorter than 64 rows, knowing that you're going to add this part, that's fine too. So now I'm going to pick up 2 of my gray, go through, and I pick up 2 of my rose and go through. Then mine will be about 6.5 inches long by the time I finish this, which will make my bracelet 7.5 inches, which is fine with me. I'm going to turn, well actually, let's cross over and cross over again and do one more row because my color scheme is 2 rows of each color here. So go into the next 2, and then I will go into the next 2. Let me get a little closer here. I'm doing exactly what we've been doing, so don't worry about it too much. I'm not doing anything different at this point. Just doing the herringbone stitch. Now I have my 2 sets and I need to bind them together. So I'm going to do my crossover thing. I'm going to go up through the bead here. Of course it wants to argue with me. I'm just crossing over like I would to start my new row, and then cross over into the outside bead, and then I'm going to pull this down and straighten it out like so. Now I'm coming out of this set here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bind them together like a ladder stitch. So I'm coming out of these 2 beads right here. I'm now going to go into both beads, not just the top bead, but both beads. I'm going to pull my thread down, tug it a little bit to kind of straighten these out, and then I'm going to go directly over to the next set of beads, and I'm going to go through 2 beads. So make sure you get both of them in this set, like so. Pull them over to this set and go back through the set that you just came out of. So here, into here, and back into here. Both beads, like so. And then back into this set. Now, as I come through, I'm going to pull this really tight so that my thread isn't all funny on top and looking weird. Now I'm coming out of this set. I need to bind this set to this set. So I'm going to go directly into these 2 beads here. And this straightens it out so it's not laying at the little cute V of the herringbone. It goes more into the ladder stitch. But it still isn't quite as straight as your other end. So if it isn't perfectly straight, don't freak out. It's okay. Going to go into these beads now, and I'm going to pull them straight, just like that. You can see how it straightened my beads out. Then I'm going to go back into this set here, and I'm going to bind that one more time. So I'm going to go back into here, just to make sure that they're pulled together tight. Then I'm going to go into this one. I'm going to go into this next set. So we're just binding one set to the previous set. Go back into this one, back into this one, got my thread tied around my piece, love when that happens, and pull it tight. As you can see, they're straightening out and they're binding together nice. Now I'm coming out of this set here, I'm going to bind to this set, right over to the last set here. And back up through, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew through all of them again. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go back through this one, then I'm going to go back through this one. Don't get too carried away with this because you'll get too much thread in them, and we still need to sew through them quite a bit, but just enough to where they're nice and pulled together, like so. Now, I want to go down here, and then we're going to do a little crossover here. So I'm just going to go up through this bead, just the bottom bead here, right here, and pull out like this. Pull my thread down in, and then I'm just going to go through this bead on top, just like a regular crossover right here. Except for I'm doing it opposite. So instead of coming out of this bead, I'm coming out of the second bead in the set, right here. Now, we are going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0 seed bead and the round part of our clasp, because we're going to put this end, this side of the clasp on a little bit differently than this side to allow it some room to go through the hole of the toggle. Whenever you have a wide piece, if you don't give a little extra length for this end, you won't be able to get it through your toggle. So we're going to do both ends a little differently. So I'm going to show you how to do both ends. We're going to start with the round end right now. 2 11-0s and an 8-0. Drop them down. Pick up your round end and go through the loop. Then just go through the 8-0 seed bead. Hold on to the 8-0 seed bead and the 11-0s and pull your thread through and pull your clasp down to that 8-0 seed bead. Pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. Go down into the second set of your beads here. So this is the first set, this is the second set. Go into it. Like so. So 2 beads over from the end is where these should be coming out of. This is going to look thready for a moment. That's okay. Now I need to sew back up through so I can get over to this bead here and come through one more time. And we'll do that twice actually. So this is how we're going to sew through. We're coming out of this set here. We're going to go up into the set next to it, both beads. Now this can be a little tricky because the beads are tight now. So, and I'm trying to stay in camera, so it's going to look a little clumsy. But right here, I'm going to come up through both, and I'm going to pull the thread tight. Want to make sure there's no slack. Wants to look like that. And then we're coming out of this set, we're going to go down into this set. And pull through. And then we're going to go up into this set that we're connected to with our clasping. So come up through both of them, like so. Come up into your 11-0 seed beads and your 8-0 seed bead, and go through your clasp. And then go back down into the 8-0. So make sure you're coming through your clasp, go through the 8-0, and then go down into the 11-0s on this side and pull. Go down through the 8-0s you're connected to, and then I'm going to do this one more time, exactly like I just did it. I'm going to go up through these 2 beads here and exit. These 2 beads here, go down through them and exit. And then up through these 2 and exit. And then through my clasping again. So my 2 11-0s and my 8-0. I'm exiting my 8-0 without going through my loops. So I will go through the loop of the clasp now. Just make sure you go through that loop, or there's no point in doing this part. Then go down through the 8-0 and the 2 11-0s on this side. And pull. And then go down through the 2 8-0s here, right here. And now we have our clasp. So if you do not have flowers, or you just don't want to put flowers on it, this side is finished and you can sew through some beads and tie off on a thread bridge between the beads. So you could like sew through and then grab a thread bridge right here or something and tie a knot, and then sew through a few more, tie a knot, and be finished. Or you can embellish it like I'm going to embellish it. Now I'm coming out of this set of beads. I'm going to go up into the very end set. Coming out of my last bead in my herringbone stitch right here. And I'm going to pick up a flower. And I am just going to drop it down. And then I'm going to pick up one of my 11-0 seed beads and drop it down. And then I'm going to go around the 11-0 and through the flower. So just go around, just ignore the 11-0 and go back through your flower bead. And then go back through the herringbone stitch on the bead next to the one you're coming out of. Right here. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going into this one. And I'm going to pull this flower down tight and push it on top, like so. And there's my flower. Now I'm going to go up through my next herringbone stitch. So I'm coming out of this one here. I'm going to go up through this bead in the top here. Get my clasping out of the way. Don't worry if your previous flower kind of loosens. We can tighten it as we pull our thread through. And then pull. And see how that tightened my flower. Now I'm going to pick up a gold flower. And I'm going to pick up a seed bead, 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to drop these down. Then I'm going to go around the 11-0 and back into the flower bead. And then into the herringbone bead next to the one I'm coming out of. So I'm coming out of this bead, I'm going to go into this one. So go straight down into that bead and exit like so. And pull this down tight. Arrange it. And then I'm going to go into the very next set of herringbone, just the first bead in that set, up through it like so. And I'm going to do the same thing with another silver one. So I'm going to pick up a silver flower, and I'm going to pick up an 11-0, like this. Drop them down. I'm going to go around that 11-0, back through my flower bead. So just ignore the 11-0, and then go into the last bead in my herringbone set there, like so. Now I need to sew back through, and I want to get down to this set here, so I'm going to put one more flower right next to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down through this bead here. So I'm coming out of this top bead, I'm going to sew into the bead right underneath it. Oops, I just wrapped my thread around my flower. There we go. And I'm going to tighten as I do this. And then I'm going to go up. Let's see, yeah, I want to go into this bead here. And go through this whole set. Then I'm going to come down through the next two here, right here. Just make sure your thread doesn't tangle on your clasping or your flowers. And then we're going to come up just through, so I'm coming out of this second set right underneath my middle flower. I'm going to come into just this first bead here. Try to avoid the second one. And it's kind of tight, so go through at an angle like so. So I'm just coming through this bead, not the top bead. Now I am going to pick up a silver flower and then an 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to drop this down like so. And again, I am just going to come through the flower and ignore that 11-0, and then I'm going to go through this first bead in the herringbone here. It's a tight one, so I'm trying to go at an angle here and pull my needle through right here. See, this will bend your needle all up. It's going to happen. They're tight stitches if you did it right, so that's just the way it's going to be. Now I'm going to arrange these nice, and that's what my embellishment looks like. Now I'm going to sew back through a little bit and tie off. So I'm coming out of this bead right here underneath my flower. I'm going to go up into this set here. I'm going to probably just go through both of them. My needle's all bent now, so give me a second to get through here. There we go. I'm going to pull tight. Then I'm going to move my thread over under this flower and go into these two beads here. And exit this set if I can get through them. Here. Make sure everything's tight, arranged the way you want it. And then I'm going to grab right here in the center, there's a thread bridge. Right between these beads, right here. I'm going to grab and make sure I'm on that thread bridge, and I'm going to pull my thread down into a loop. If I can get around my clasp here. There we go. Once you start embellishing stuff, there's a million things sticking out for your thread to wrap around. I'm going to pull it into a loop, go into the loop, pull this down between my beads, and now I have a knot. I'm going to go down into another set of my beads here. Right here. And I'm going to grab this thread bridge between these two beads here, right in the middle, right here, and pull it into a loop, tie a knot. Now I'm going to just cross over and sew down middle of these two, and then sew down the middle of, I'm going to cross over and sew down these two. So as long as you keep it to where your thread will pull down between your beads, you can sew through your sets, and I think that's enough for me. I'm going to cut it off, leave it a little bit of length, and burn that little bit of length down with my lighter. And there is this end of my clasping, which will look really cute when it's on, like so. Now I am going to go to the opposite end of my piece. I am going to extend my Fireline, or my Nanofil actually, which is basically the same thing. I'm going to extend it. If you left a long tail and you do not need to extend it, go ahead and just put your needle on your long thread, and we'll be back and start the clasping on this side. It's just a little different, so I'm going to show you the clasping on this side instead of just having you do it the way we did it on the other side. So I will be back after I extend my Fireline, and we'll get started on the clasping on this side. So I have extended my Fireline, put my needle on this side, and I am ready to do the clasping and the embellishment on this side. So I'm coming out of this last bead right here, and what I'm going to do is, let me get you a little closer, I'm going to sew and cross over so that I can come out of the second bead here. So what I have to do is I have to go into these two beads here. I'm coming out of this one, go into these two. Then make sure you pull your thread down so where it's not all funny looking on top here. And then I'm coming out of this second set here, right here, Now I'm going to go just into the bottom bead back underneath the set that I started in. So just this bead here, right here, and go through. Pull this down between the beads here, like so. And now I'm going to cross over again. So I'm coming out of this bottom bead on this side, I'm going to cross over and come out of this bead. So cross over, come out of this bead, right here. Pull. And we are going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. And then, like I said, we're going to do this different than the other side so that this side of the toggle clasp has a little bit more room to move through the loop on the other side. So we're going to pick up 3 8-0 seed beads, like so. Drop them down. Then I'm going to pick up my clasp. I'm going to go through it. Then I'm going to go back through these 3 8-0s and just the 3 8-0s, like so. Let's get just a bit closer. And I'm going to hold on to these 3 8-0s and I'm going to pull my clasping down. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. And I'm going to go over to the second set on this side of beads. So here's my first 2. I'm going to go through these 2 right here. And I'm going to go through both of them and exit like so. Pull this down. And now I have to sew through this a couple more times. So we're going to do like we did on the other side. We're coming out of these 2, we're going to go up these 2. And pull tight. Not so tight that it buckles everything, just so that everything is nice and neat and there's no slack. Then we're going to go down through these 2. Here. Then we're going to go up through these 2 here. Right here. Up through the 2 11-0 seed beads here on this side and up through the 3 8-0s. Pull. Go through the clasp. Go down through the 3 8-0 seed beads and the 2 11-0s on the other side. Here. Pull. Go back down into the 2 beads that you're attached to. Pull. Then sew back up through again. So I'm just going to do this quickly. We did this on the other side, same thing. Just going through double sets here. Up through the 2 I'm attached to on this side, up through the 11-0s here, and the 3 8-0s, and I'm going to exit. Then I'm going to go through my loop, and down through the 3 8-0s, and down through the 2 11-0s, and I'm also going to go down through the 2 8-0s I'm attached to. My thread off my clasp here, and now I'm pretty secure, so I am going to go into the outside set here. So I'm coming out of these 2, I'm going to go into the outside, and I'm going to attach my flowers exactly like I did on the other side. So I'm going to pick up a silver and 11-0, and I'm going to drop it down, go around the 11-0 and into the set of beads right next to it. So just into the top one here, like so. Exactly like we did on the other side. Then I'm going to come up through the center one here, the center set, the first 2 in the center set. Whoops. Now don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. I'm going to pull this back through, so I'm going to take my needle off. I'm going to show you how I'm going to correct this. I need to go through both of these beads unless I'm going to go straight up through here. So I crossed over and had a thread on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread my needle back. You can try to back through with your needle on, but for me that always tangles, so I always take my needle off, pull my thread through, and now I'm coming out of this top bead. I'm going to go directly into this top bead, not down through the bottom of this one. So I'm going to go through this one right here so that my thread will tuck in between, like so. Now I'm going to pick up a gold colored flower and 11-0. I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to go into the flower, ignoring the 11-0, and then just into the top bead here, next to the one that I started attaching to. Pull this down. Then I'm going to go up into the next set of beads, just the top bead, if I can get it here, like so. You can do the double sets too. If the top one's too tight, you can always go through the entire set. But if you go through both beads, then you have to come up through both beads. So there's the flower that I want. Let me pick it up, bring it down with my 11-0, go around the 11-0, go into the outside one here. And this time I'm going to go through both beads here. Pull this down. Make sure it looks nice. Now I'm going to go just through this bead here. Then I am going to go through this bead here. I'm going to cross over and go through these two. So I want to come out of, how did I do that? The same set. So yeah, just want to be in the bottom of these two here. So my beads on top here, 1, 2, I'm coming out of the bottom of 2 here. So exactly the same as we did on the other side. If the other side was clearer, turn around, do it, or rewind or back up the video and watch it if that was clearer. I'm just trying to do this quickly because we've already gone through it once and it's repetitious. Now I'm going to go around this bead here. And because I came down through this bead here, I want to go up through this set here. There. Pull this tight. Yeah, that'll be okay. Now I'm going to sew into this set here, right here, up through this set here, now I've come out a little bit differently than I did last time. I probably was sewing through double sets instead of single, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you get it in there nice, whichever way works for you. I'm going to tie a knot here. I always do things differently but end up with the same result. But I don't want you guys to get confused. So you go and just do it exactly the same as you did before. Then I'm going to come back down. I just tied a knot right here on this thread bridge. I'm going to come down through a couple beads. Tie a knot here. Pull a loop, tie a knot here, and then down through these two. I'm going to tie another knot. I just want to grab this one thread bridge. I keep getting a couple different threads I don't want. There we go. Then I'm going to sew here. 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 No particular way, just however you can secure it and get your thread following the original thread path without crossing over the top of your beads and making it look funny. And then just melt that down, tuck it in, straighten them all up, make them look pretty, like so. Put it back on. That is what that looks like, and I will put it on my wrist and show you. As this could have been a little smaller for me, but it's not bad, and that's what it looks like. So if you make it a little bit tighter, you can make it stay right in front like that, but I don't think that it particularly matters, and it's going to move around on my hand a little bit, but I could have gone a couple of rows shorter. It doesn't, it's just up to you how you want to wear it, but that's what that looks like, and I think that's really kind of cute. It gives a little bit of flair to a basic stitch. I like to always add a little something, a little oomph to the basic stitches. That's what makes it individual and your style and your design. You use a basic stitch that has been used forever and ever by everybody, but you put a little bit of your own taste and your own flair to it, and then it becomes your design. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have fun. Bye-bye.